Ladies and gentlemen, the next contestant in the Messenger Community Use Mortgage Choice Golden Gavel competition for 2008 is a past two-time winner of the Golden Gavel competition, the current CEO of LJ Hooker, South Australian Northern Territory, Mr. Rod Adcock.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Today is a significant day, significant for so many and for so many reasons. Today marks the end of one era and the beginning of another. And no more significant occasion was the recent celebration of our vendor, Miss Nancy Gilbert's 90th birthday, right here on this very veranda. And as her family and friends surrounded her and reminisced about the days gone by, they reflected on all those wonderful summertime holidays they had for over some 80 years. Well, of course, today Miss Gilbert says goodbye to her beloved Jarrah Cottage. But of course, the memories will live on. And today, of course, we find a new buyer, a new owner, someone that I'm sure is going to enjoy this property just as much as those have done in the days before. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. A glorious day to buy real estate. Welcome to the public auction of number 561 Esplanade Grange, South Australia. And a special welcome to those of you who are bidding here today, and also to our onlookers and neighbours who have come out of local interest. You add special significance to our auction in relation to adding atmosphere and excitement. We welcome you as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, by way of introduction, my name is Rod Adcock and I'm your auctioneer. And of course I represent LJ Hooker. And we're very proud and long-standing members of the Real Estate Institute of South Australia and the Society of Auctioneers and Appraisers. And LJ Hooker, of course, are national and international leaders in the marketing of real estate. I just wanted to take this opportunity of thanking our vendor and her family for appointing LJ Hooker as their selling agent, and also congratulating them on preserving this absolute timeless masterpiece of architecture for so many years. Well, folks, the format for this auction is quite straightforward, but in case there are some of you here who are unfamiliar with the process, there's just a few things I need to explain. Firstly, I'll confirm your legal obligations set out in the contract. I'll mention the vendor's fixtures and fittings that we include and exclude, and then I'll describe the property's title reference obtained from the Lands Title Office copy. I'll pray see the rules of auction. Before I call for your bid and offer, I'll ask whether any questions at all before I take you on a quick tour of the property one last time. After the auction, the successful buyer will be asked to come forward, complete and sign the agreement, and take with your own personally bound copy as a record of your purchase here today. Now, speaking of the documentation, that's very simple, and it's been available to you both on site here and the offices of LJ Hooker Operations for the legally prescribed time. They're fairly drafted to protect all parties and result in the smooth transfer of title. A deposit of 10% of your purchase price is payable today, with a balance due on settlement day when you take possession, set down for Monday the 30th of June 2008. Now, those of you that have made arrangements with me prior to this afternoon's auction with regard to alternative amounts of deposit or alternative settlement dates, please bid confidently, knowing those arrangements will be honoured when you sign the agreement. Now, as the purchase, you have an insurable interest, so I always recommend you take out insurance cover immediately after the auction to protect your equity in the improvements standing on the land. Now, we include in the sale of the building improvements, together with fixed floor coverings, the window treatments, the light fittings, and a very late inclusion, buyers, and I'm sure you're going to be pleased to hear this news. Our vendors have left a 1973 bottle of Grange Hermitage down in the cellar for the lucky buyers, the reward for their purchase here this afternoon. Now, isn't that great news? And of course, we also exclude the vendors' furniture, their personal effects, any non-standard telephones, garden furniture and potted plants are also excluded. The legal description is all that land and certificate of title, volume 5, 666, folio 630, and of course the council zoning is in the city of Charles Sturt, its Western Edge Policy Area 3. The property is listed for local heritage. Now, the rules of auction are as follows, and they're also very simple. Firstly, with regard to bidder registration, those of you that have registered to bid this afternoon, I do thank you for that, but if you haven't, don't panic. I'm more than happy to accept your bid. The property is offered with a reserve price, and subject to obtaining that reserve, there'll be 3 calls of the final bid before I announce sold to the highest bidder. The vendor retains the right to bid up to but not at or exceeding the reserve price, but only through the auctioneer, when such bids will be clearly identified as a vendor bid. However, should the property be passed in or the auction held over, our vendor's instructions are to negotiate immediately with the highest bidder. Negotiations are not successful, then with other bidders, and thirdly with interested parties that did not bid. So to have that first right to the exclusion of others, you must be the highest bidder. As the auctioneer, I'll determine the bid increments and resolve any disputes. And finally, your bidding and purchase today is on a cash, unconditional basis whereby no cooling off rates apply. Well, folks, you've been very patient while I've dealt with those formalities. Thank you. Before we go on this quick final tour, are there any questions at all?
I want to develop this site. What is the GST situation on this sale today?
No GST applicable, madam. GST exclusive. There's no question? Good, excellent. Thank you for it. Any other questions at all?
I appreciate this is a beautiful historic site, but I do wish to build a large garage at the rear of the home to house my carcass. The council cannot give me a definitive answer as to whether this is possible or not, but do you or have any information from the vendor that might let me know that could be possible?
Well, thank you for your question. I think it's a matter of process, sir. You'd need to go to council and make a formal application. They probably won't give you an indication unless you actually make that formal application for approval under the Council's Development Act. I couldn't imagine there'd be a problem. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Any other questions at all? Excellent. You're all happy. Terrific. Well, ladies and gentlemen, originally built 1900 out of Western Australian Jarrah, hence its name, Jarrah Cottage. And it certainly stood the test of time, but more particularly, this fine cottage home has all those old-world charm and character features intact, such as the high ceilings, those lovely warm polished floorboards, and the intricate detailed open fireplaces. And of course, the big cool verandas that wrap around two sides of the home give you protection from that warm summer sun, but on the northern side, the winter sun comes through and warms 3 of the 4 bedrooms. And of course, the focal point by is that grand formal dining room. And if only the walls of that room could talk and reiterate and reintroduce those stories about those magnificent parties and the fabulous renowned Gilbert's Christmas Day lunch, where stories were swapped and presents unwrapped. That was the focal point, the centrepiece of the home buyers. And of course, the potential you see here today is only limited by your imagination. You can extend up or out, subject to, of course, the necessary consents, because the land area is a whopping 1,098 square metres, so there's plenty of room. And buyers, finally, let's revisit the location, where here you are, your front neighbour is the sand and the sea. And on the adjoining side, there's a